Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, being a Sunday, I'm going to do one of my rambly videos, and today I'm going to talk about measuring reading. Now, this is something I've definitely talked about on the channel before, and I think I've touched on it in one of these Sunday Bollyx videos. And I'm conscious that a lot of the videos I've done in this kind of Sunday thread have been me saying, I think, I don't think this is a good thing. I don't do it, but all these other people are doing it. What do you think about that? What I want to talk about today is the notion, which I think is increasingly prevalent, of measuring leisure. And that's something I am hugely guilty of and don't know how to stop doing. So if anyone's got any tips on that, I will be very grateful for them. And what I mean when I talk about measuring leisure is the sense that we have to set ourselves goals and things like that. So everything we do, I think increasingly, certainly in Western society, is very target driven. And I think, that comes out of the drive for more productivity in industry, and particularly in the years after the Second World War, and it's something that has bled into our our downtime as well, into our social activities and our leisure time. If you look at video games tend to be all about achieving things, and often doing very repetitive things. So I've played a fair bit of Minecraft in my time, especially when my son was younger, where you're literally just digging for 15 minutes to to get to get resources to then build. So there's this real sense of work, of leisure being about work. So leisure being like work, and also lots of video games have like side quests and things like that, where you have to go and do a specific task in order to unlock other things. So i.e. do a thing, earn a thing. And I think that's definitely something that's creeping into other forms of entertainment as well, or other forms of leisure as well. And certainly I'm a big user of Goodreads. I've tried Storygraph and I couldn't really get on with it. But Goodreads I use a lot, and I use it purely really for logging. So I used to write reviews and things like that on Goodreads. I don't really do that much anymore. But I do log everything I read on Goodreads religiously. And I also log everything I read in a spreadsheet ridiculously, to the extent that at the start of the month, when I set my TBR, I list out all of the books and I say how many pages they've got. And then I've got a little formula at the side that calculates how many pages I need to read every day to read all those books in the month. And whenever I finish a book, I add in the number of pages I've read in that book, and the formula tells me if I'm on track for the month or not, which is, frankly ridiculous, and as far away as possible from the idea of reading being a relaxing activity. So yeah, as I say, I'm definitely really, really guilty of this. I set myself, I do a TBR video every month. I know how many pages I can read in a month, so I can read about 5,500 pages a month. So that's my goal each month. And as I say, I track myself against that goal like a middle manager tracking the productivity of his workforce. Which is which is awful. So I'm really keen to hear from people out there whether you measure. Do you measure your reading? I think lots of people have like an annual goal, but do you measure it in other ways? And also, have you managed to? Are you someone who used to measure and has managed to break out of the habit of measuring? Because I've got really mixed feelings about it. So on the one hand, I recognise that it's not really a healthy thing to be doing, but on the other hand, it's really useful, particularly since I've started doing BookTube, because it gives a structure to my reading life that might not be there otherwise, and it also, I think, probably makes for like a structure to my videos. So I do a weekly wrap up every week where I talk about what I've read and what I'm going to read next. So there is a consistency, a consistent thread running through my videos, because of the fact that I set myself these targets. The other thing I do in terms of tracking is, so I use an app called Trello to track books that I've been given copies of, either via NetGalley or, you know, people have sent me copies of, to read for review. And I have different stages of, you know, so I've read, you know, I have a to read column, I have a read column, I have a reviewed column, I have a published column, and so on and so forth. And, you know, ironically, Trello is made by the same company that make a piece of software called Jira, which is software that I use heavily at work. So I really am, you know, making my leisure time like work. So yeah, just a short one today. But if you have, I'm like I say, I'm really keen to hear from people who've managed, but particularly if you've managed to break that habit of measuring and how you did it. Or, you know, equally, if you don't think measuring is necessarily a bad thing. And I think in many ways it isn't a bad thing, but I think it is because I think it drives the wrong behaviours. So it certainly drives me to want to read more, not to want to read better. So I go through books at a good rate. I go through books quickly. And I wonder and worry sometimes that I am not getting as much out of the books that I read as I would be if I wasn't so focused on productivity. So that's my bollocks for this Sunday. As always, hope you're all safe and well. Hope you're reading good stuff. Let me know what's going on in your lives in the comments. Let me know what you're reading, and I will speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.